Welcome to the Heart of Equity. My name is Ashlei Rodgers. I'm the host of the show. And today I have an amazing guest. Her name is Toni Newman. She is the director of the Coalition for Justice and Equality Across Movements at NMAC, also known as the National Minority AIDS Council. She is also a board member of the Transcan Work in Paravar Bay Area. Both organizations are trans organizations that help marginalized communities. In addition to that, she is also an author of her memoir, I Rise, The Transformation of Toni Newman. Welcome, Toni. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Ashley. I'm Toni Newman, based in Los Angeles, moving to Washington, D.C. for a new job at NMAC, the Director of Coalition for Justice and Equality. And I'm so happy to be here to talk about the issues affecting the minority community. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you because we've talked in the past and you just keep it so honest and so real. And I think sometimes we need to have, we need to have these candid conversations about issues that are impacting, especially the most marginalized communities. And so I wanted to ask you, what does health equity mean to you?
That means that everyone in the United States, from every community, has equal rights and health opportunities. Health opportunities, health equity rights is a part of being an American, in my opinion. Whether you're poor, you make $500,000, or whether you make $15 an hour, we all deserve health care, quality health care. And that's what I really stand for. And that's what equity means to me. Equal across the boards, Black, white, regardless of race, sex, and gender, you get it. And that's what I stand for. And that's what NMAC is standing for with this new coalition.
So yeah, let's talk about your role at NMAC. So I know it's a new position that you recently started. What exactly will you be doing at NMAC?
When we were meeting, when I was the interim CEO of the Black AIDS Institute, we were fighting for the Minority AIDS Initiative to get it back to where all of that hundreds of millions of dollars go to minority-led companies. Mm-hmm. That's how I met Paul at NMAC, and I worked with him for a year at the Black AIDS Institute. I decided not to remain as a permanent CEO. The coalition decided to hire someone to lead an equity movement to fight for equality for everybody. We're trying to end the HIV virus, but civil rights, women productive rights at the Supreme Court have been taken. And we are thinking LGBT rights, over 300 bills of trans and anti-LGBT rights are happening. So we're thinking we need help, not just the HIV community, not just the gay community, not just HIV. We need to band with others who are losing rights, like women, immigrants, housing, civil rights, human rights, faith-based orgs. So that's what we've done. We're going to combine 30 groups that we met in Puerto Rico at the United States Conference on AIDS, hosted by NMAC. We had Urban League there. We had Planned Parenthood. We had HRC, Lambda Legal, all different groups, straight, gay, women, men, children's groups, housing groups. And we decided to join and form a coalition. And that's what we've done.
I love to hear that because I think a lot of folks thought that, this thing was passed, equality rights were passed decades ago. We're fine, we're safe. And now we're learning that our reproductive rights are being taken away. The LGBTQ rights are being taken away. The transgender community right now is literally fighting for their lives to be able to have access to healthcare and not be criminalized because of that. And I wanted to talk about the marginalization of transgender people, because I don't think that as a whole in society, folks really understand what's really happening in that space. Can we talk about some of the barriers that transgender community experiences, specifically like high rates of poverty, harassment, violence, poor health outcomes, limited job opportunities? Can we talk a little bit about what marginalization looks like for the community?
I'll talk about it in whole, and then I'll bring it down to a personal story. Over 60% of trans folks are living in poverty. That's under the federal number of what a salary is to live comfortably. At the federal level, over 60% of trans folks are living in poverty. When I transitioned 25 years ago, had a degree from Wake Forest University, had worked at a community college as an assistant to the dean and instructional supervisor. When I transitioned, I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's. I had applied over 100 times to McDonald's and Burger King, and I had a degree from Wake Forest and over 9 years of experience of leadership at Wake Technical Community College and Coastal Carolina Community College in North Carolina, where I was born and educated. Had graduated top of my class, had got scholarship to go to Wake Forest. I would walk into McDonald's looking like a trans woman in the very beginning and couldn't even get a job flipping burgers and cooking French fries. So that led me to do things that I wasn't hoping to do, which is sex work. And I did sex work for many years in order. For me, it was survival sex work. It wasn't by choice. I didn't like it, but I had to live. So I'm bringing that story in just to say, which is also in my book, I Rise. It's hard out here for trans folk. And of course, now it's changed quite a bit. That was 25 years ago. We have Pose and great entertainment characters and people who are trans celebrity stars. So the awareness is out, but for that small community, that's still a very small community. There may be 5 to 8 people who are making a living as a trans in the entertainment business. So we still have a long way to go. And a lot of them are unemployed and just being rejected for being who they authentically are. So things have changed. We are now CEOs. I've been a CEO 3 times. God willing, that was God's path for me. And there's others who've got law degrees and PhDs. We are making ground, but we're still being discriminated as a group, which makes up only 1.1% of the population. So I don't understand why you want to attack such a small group of trans TGNC individuals. And people are saying, oh, you're recruiting people. No one would join the transgender community unless it was really in your soul. It is a rough, hard road. So about recruitment, I've never recruited a soul. This is not something you just pick up and say, oh, I want to be trans today. You know, I was called for this. If I had not been called, I would have never stepped into this. I was convicted to be who I was. Why that is, I still don't know why God has partnered me with the transgender community. I don't know why I was selected, but I'm so glad I am, because I am living an authentic life. It took me almost 20 years just to accept who I was. I lived in such fear and shame of like, what is the university going to think of me? What is my community college associates would think of me? Well, they thought what I thought they would think. They didn't think very well of me when I said that I was transgender. And things took a bad turn at that point. Then I realized I was on my own, family rejection, colleague rejection, people who I'd had dinner with in my home for years. Why are you doing this? You have a great job. You could be a dean one day. You're a fool. You work hard. You could be the vice president of this community college. I was on a very good track. I was well liked, but I had to be my authentic self.
Wow. I mean, I appreciate the honesty and vulnerability as you're telling that story, because for someone like you who went to a prestigious university, who on paper, everyone would assume, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. Like, you've done all the things, you'll be fine. And you also struggled and weren't even able to get a job at, McDonald's or Burger King. For those who don't have nearly as much privilege, they're struggling even more. And I know you mentioned that you had to do sex work just to survive. And I know that's a story for a lot of trans people because they are in these situations where their family rejects them or they're unable to get a job or housing or what have you. So I know it's been a struggle, but you're fighting the good fight. Like you really are. And, as you mentioned, like you've been a CEO of like 3 major organizations, like you're a boss with a capital BOSS, like your stuff, you show up, you show out in all the things. Can I ask, like, what type of barriers have you experienced being in these spaces where you're the only trans person or person of color and having to have to speak for so many different groups that are like intersectional of who you are? What have been some of your challenges?
First became the CEO of St. James Infirmary, which is a sex worker clinic, a trans clinic, a homeless clinic. I had just been a director of development at Maitri Ace Hospital 3 years, and 2 years before that. A lot of people didn't think I was the right candidate for that job. I heard the rumors. I would go to meetings. Isn't that the trans woman? Blah, blah, blah. And people would ask me over and over, what's your background? I'm a graduate of Wake Forest. I've been a director of development for 5 years at both companies that were over 5 to 10 million. I've raised over $32 million for these hospitals and clinics. And still there was doubt about my qualifications just because I was a Black trans woman of color. And I just told myself, with the support of a very close network of friends, that I belong. Well, I raised almost $3 million. I moved them into a new clinic. And we started the first trans housing program with Mayor Breed and Claire Farley, director of the OTI office in the United States, which is still going on today, housing TGNC folks who are homeless. So what I did is I keep my head down, because my mother always said, actions speak louder than words. You can always tell people I'm this, I'm that, but I decided I'll just show you what I'm qualified and capable of doing. And I've done that along the way, in my opinion, to the best of my ability, to represent my community. I'm just a representative. I don't speak for the whole transgender community. We are not a monolith. Right. Everyone is not going to be a director and a CEO and go to board meetings and raise money and da-da-da. That's not everyone's path. That was my path.
I love it. I'm just going to be a little heart for you. Like, I agree with that 100%. And I want to talk about, as we're talking about health equity, I don't think a lot of people understand the challenges that folks from the LGBTQ plus community experience as they're trying to access care, and the discrimination that can happen from healthcare providers or institutions when you're going in and you're saying, I am Toni, a female woman, and there may be questioning, and you may not be able to get the same level of care or do some of your paperwork. Can we talk about some of that may happen among those who are part of the trans community?
I won't say where, but when I first went to my first doctor after transitioning, won't say the carrier, but when I went to her and said, hi, I'm Toni Newman, I'm a trans woman, I'm having issues with A, B, or C. She had no clue on what was happening to me. I had to really kind of educate her as a doctor about my body, about things that I've done to my body, what was happening in my body. I was almost like a clinical associate, pretty much telling her what should be diagnosed by her. And I realized there's just not enough, at that point, that was 20 years ago, not enough education. Now that we have all of these trans educators who are going out, educating folk, things have gotten better, but there's still an issue at points sometimes with going to a doctor and saying, I'm a trans woman or I'm a trans man. And these are my issues. And for them to be competent to say, I don't know what's going on with you. I'm like, well, if you don't know, who would know? You're the MD. And I realized, she said, I just don't have the knowledge, Toni. And, I didn't get angry with her. And I said, you just don't have the knowledge. And I need to go to someone who has a little bit more knowledge and be able to help me where I am. And I did that, but she just didn't have the knowledge. And there's still some at these big universities who just doesn't have the knowledge. And I'm hoping if they hear this, come to us. We can provide training for you. We can educate you on what a trans man and a trans woman go through as they go through the process, whether you're pre-op or you've gone all the way. We can educate you on that. There are learning tools available now if you want them. And I'm here to educate and enlighten and to offer that to you if you want it, to become more knowledgeable and just competent to deal with the trans community. We just want good healthcare. We're not trying to change anything. We're not trying to make healthcare difficult. I just want quality healthcare just like you want for you and your family.
I'm thankful that your healthcare provider was humble enough to admit that she did not know how to care for you in the way that you needed to be cared for.
But I had good health care. Let's keep that in mind. What about the people who are getting it free and have to go to free clinics? Oh my God.
And get whatever they can get, if they get anything at all.
Oh my God, you walk in and like, what? Number 18, blah, 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 and put you right out. I mean, we're talking about people who may not can afford good health care, platinum or bronze or silver or gold. With all these extra bells and whistles, what do? They deserve health equity.
As we're talking about transgender people and access to care, I know trans women of color, specifically Black trans women, have a higher incident rate of HIV and not having access to that care. Can we talk about why the numbers are so much higher among Black trans women? Black people in general are disproportionately impacted by HIV. Black cis women are also that. Black trans women are also dealing with it. So can we talk a little bit about that?
This year, NMAC is doing a love letter to Black women, cis and trans, for this very reason. Black women in the South and trans women of color, especially Black and Latin, are leading the numbers in the HIV epidemic. Leading the numbers. A lot of trans women of color, especially Black, work in sex work, and they need our support and our love.
Yeah,
and they need health equity. And that's what I stand for. I can't speak the story of the HIV journey because I've not had it, but I've worked in HIV for over 20 years of trying to help people with it. That's women, gays, straight, trans women. I'm here not just to help trans women. I'm here to speak for all people who have HIV and need support.
What is your approach really to have those tough conversations about racism, transphobia, and inequality?
I recently just joined the Equal Rights Amendment Coalition. They'll be joining my coalition. They're meeting, I think today or this week, for the states who don't even have equal rights amendment. I didn't know there was some states still in the United States that doesn't have equal rights amendment for women. And this is something that's, I think 100 years ago. It's like, my God.
This is America. Welcome.
I go to everyone. I've talked to evangelicals. I've talked to radical right. I've talked to the KKK. My thing is,
wait, what?
I had a meeting with a man when I was the CEO of St. James. He emailed me and he says, I am from a certain state. I am a member of the Ku Klux Klan. I read your book and I'm in San Francisco. And I said to myself, what, you want me to meet you so you kill me? I said it in my head.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be nervous too. I'm like, and then what?
And then he said, I'd like to go to lunch. You pick the place for lunch. And I would like to talk to you about being a transgender. I pick a restaurant I like so much. I go to all the time, I hire a security guard to come with me. I go to meet him. And as soon as I sit down, this individual says, my son is wanting to be a transgender. And I am in flux about what to fucking do.
Oh, snap.
I saw that you did an interview. I read an article you and Ebony that was written by one of O Magazine editors about that you have the will of God and the power of God. And you know that you're living your authentic life. And I have a qualm about that. God, isn't he going to send all of you to hell? Isn't that just where you've chosen to go to hell? And we had a conversation for 2.5 hours about his white son, who he's raised up for 17 years to be a racist, who is now telling his parents to become a her that they want to be a transgender. It blew my mind. I got up, he bought 5 books, said, could you ship them to me? He bought 5 books. He gave me the money right at the table. I said, they're $40 a book. He gave me $200. I said, thank you. What address do you want me to send the books to? And he says, if my child could have your perspective, I'm okay with it. Because you seem so confident that you are walking in a truth. I see no hesitation and no doubt that it must not be as bad as I think it is. For someone like you, who's highly educated, you went to like Wake Forest, you wrote a book, you just don't seem like someone who would wake up and do something like this unless it was real. I said, that is the point. I said, for 20 years, I lived in fear, sir. I cried when my mother says, you're not welcome here anymore. A woman who I cherish, a woman who loves God, God-fearing woman. I got raised up in the church. I love this woman more than life. Supported me at Wake Forest, celebrated with me. But when I told her that, she said, oh, you have broke me. And I can't be a part of this. You can't be a part of us any longer. And it took us 15 years to reconcile that. And I said, you think I would walk away from my family who had loved me, my siblings who I got along with? My father had passed by that time. But I said, you think I would have done that on a whim? I said, that took everything to walk away from a job. I was making really good money, living in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, going to graduate school, had great friends. I said, I had a good life and a good family. You think I left North Carolina to go to New York on a whim and lose everything? No, sir. It was deep in my soul. And I believe that I've been This is what God wants for me.
Mm.
So I'm living in it fully. And so the story to that is I'm open to anyone. So unless they're offensive and rude, which I will walk away. But if you come to me and you ask, and I ask you, can we have a conversation, Ashlei? I'm not here to change your mind, but can I tell you my story? I'm just one of millions of 1% in America who's living this life. Can I tell you why? And most times we leave, sometimes amicably, sometimes they leave still believing what they believe. But I've done the best I can to explain. So I'm open to everyone, even a KKK member who's raising an 18-year-old white male kid who wants to become a trans woman in a state that's very Republican, and he's some type of officer in the state's Ku Klux Klan. And he admitted that over the phone. So I was like, whoa, okay. So it's affecting us all. We may not hear it. They're transgenders in these MAGA Republican homes. They're gay children in these MAGA Republican homes. It's happening. It's happening to them like it's happening to my mom. It's happening. So we got to learn how to respect everybody.
Let's talk about what does it look like for folks to be allies? Or like I always say, you could be an ally or you can be a conspirator. Like I want to be a conspirator. I want to be side by side doing the work, whatever else. What do you recommend for those folks who are like, what can I do to actually make a difference? And not trying to put the onus on you, but as a leader, what else can they do to fight the good fight right now when rights are being stripped away left and right in every state like Tennessee and Texas and so many more that are coming down the pipeline?
I found a lot of allies who give me a lot of word service. I'm with you, blah, 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 but their actions don't correlate with their words. So if you're a true ally or conspirator, show me that you love me. Show up when I call. When I ask you to stand behind me, be behind me. When I ask you, this is what we need, be there for me. And then when you need something, you come to me and I'm there for you. So my thing is an exchange of love. I give love, but I need love back in actions. I live that myself. I don't tell people a lot of stuff. I show them what I'm all about. When I tell you something, I show you by joining organizations, by hiring TGNC folks in your company, by giving them equal pay and equal wages, by giving them great benefits. That's how you show me that you are an ally of a TGNC folk. So I'm just asking people to support by actions, by donations, by volunteering, and show up when I ask you to show up. And I'll show up when you ask me to show up. That's what the coalition is about. I'm gonna support you, but I need you to support me. Can we work together? That is the theme of my life and the theme of the coalition. Working collaboratively together.
I love that. And showing up is really important. And for those who are interested in volunteering, are there opportunities to volunteer with the coalition or volunteer with NMAC?
And if you can't volunteer with me, we have 6 or 7 other trans CEO leaders in my coalition that are Black, Asian, Latina, all different races, fighting, legal, workforce development, healthcare. I can put you in touch with organizations that may be more aligned if you tell me what your interests are. So if not for me, because everyone can't volunteer at the coalition, but if not for me, I'm more than willing to be a referral of helping you find an organization that is TGNC related that you can support based on your basic principles of what you like. If you want to reach out to tnewman@nmac.org, I'm more than willing to be a facilitator if that's what helps to help you find what your calling, what your interests are, so you can really show up and show out and be happy about it. I just want to say, if you're interested in supporting the coalition, you support equity, health equity, and you want to support us, we're open to getting funding. We want to grow. I want to hire more staff members. I want to do more things for all marginalized communities. I don't want you to think this is just LGBTQ. This is just trans. We're fighting for everyone who deserves health equity.
Appreciate that. Like we all want to be supporters and allies, and so this is great. I really appreciate your honesty, candidness, vulnerability, and telling us some of your stories, because I think that there are not enough stories that are being told to humanize the experiences of the transgender community. And I appreciate you. So thank you, Toni. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, your show, and God bless you.